Hello, lovely people. So today I'm measuring tweeters and I just want to show you how I perform all the measurements. So it's like becoming like a tradition that every video that I make about testing, I'm trying to explain how and what I do. So these are already measured. Basically, I measured everything because, yeah, 11:20 at night. It's already dark. Excuse the mess. Okay, so at first, I wanted to use my Alpine DSP and measure through that one. However, I realized that the Alpine DSP is capped at 48K. And since I need to measure some of these, like this, for example, is a ceramic one, and I have the beryllium ones. I wanted to measure all the way up to 30, 40K. So I'm using an XLR microphone with a Focusrite at 96K. So it can measure up to 50 kilohertz. I am using the same setup as I used with a mid-range shootout, which is this amplifier that I showed that it's very, very clean. I have a lithium battery sitting at 13.1 volt. And I decided, since I'm not using a DSP, I need some kind of a crossover. So I decided to utilize the crossover on the amplifier itself. So you can see here, it has a high pass that is adjustable from 1K all the way up to 6K. So just to make it fair, I left it on the lowest setting, 1K, just for protection, because some of these tweeters can play all the way down to 1K. And what I did is I have this one thing, which is a dB meter, and I have distance between the microphone and a tweeter 1 meter. I gated the measurement at 2 milliseconds, so there's no reflections. Like everybody's asking, oh, it's gonna be reflections from the ceiling, from the floor, whatever. There's zero reflections. There's no reflections. All reflections are disregarded in any of the measurements. You can see all these measurements. We're gonna go through all of them. I'm gonna explain everything, and you can see here I'm measuring all the way up to 50 kilohertz. So that's why I need an XLR microphone, because I cannot use the UMIC. Now I measured everything at 90 dB, exactly the same as the mid-ranges. And yes, I know I will have a lot of critics for like this setup. Now why I decided to do everything like this and not in a profile baffle, flush mount and everything. First of all, it bloody takes a lot of time. With those mid-ranges, it took me way more time than I expected. And when you have tweeters mounted in A-pillars or whatever, the only thing you have is kind of an A-pillar going to the side. If you have it somewhere, these small ones, like SB29, like this one, if you have it in the sill or whatever, it is kind of almost with no baffle. You know what I mean? So it's kind of pointless to make a baffle, because they're not going to be in bookshelf speakers. They're going to be in either A-pillars, either those aluminum pods that are rounded. So it might do something, but it's the same for all of the tweeters. And like, look, there's so many different shapes. You know how long it's going to take me to do all those baffles? So no. And for measurements, we're going to see that this doesn't affect anything. And for this test, it's very simple. Just one measurement, one sweep. I'm sweeping from 1 kilohertz all the way up to 50 kilohertz. And we're going to be looking at the frequency response, impulse response, distortion. That's pretty much it. Because even from what I did with these, because these tweeters are like just only representative of kind of a variety of tweeters, what kind of they are. But in reality, nobody's using them. Maybe the SB29 and all the other ones are just, just for show. So we're just gonna see if there's any differences between them, basically. But yeah, now I'm just gonna clean up everything. I'm gonna go to sleep, and next day I'm just gonna jump into the laptop and present all the data for you. Yeah, fun times. I did forget to mention before that I would like to thank Frank from HEPA-King and Motorogue for sending me some of these tweeters, because Frank sent me most of them and Motorogue sent me the Illusion Audio. Another disclaimer is that all these measurements are just for comparison purposes, and it doesn't mean that one tweeter that I measured specific that is going to be representative of the whole class. So for example, if I take the SB19, it does not mean that all soft dome tweeters perform exactly the same, same. If I'm gonna take this, it doesn't mean that all ceramic drivers perform the same. Like this one, it doesn't mean that all the piezo perform this way. It's just these tweeters. So take all of these measurements with a grain of salt because they're not representative of what is there. Because some characteristics can be transferred between like different classes of tweeters, if I can say that. So this is just education. It does not define a class of tweeters in some way. Before that, I want to show you what we're working with. So this is a frequency response, electrical frequency response that's coming out of the amplifier. Just wanted to show you that it's all the way flat. So I did test it with like different crossovers and stuff just to see what that amplifier does, but I was measuring with this one. So this is a crossover at 1.2K, and you can see it's flat all the way up to 40K, and then slight roll off after 40K, maybe like 1 dB or less. I did apply a target just to find out what kind of crossover is it. So it is a 1200 Hertz 12 dB per octave crossover that is in the amplifier. So all of the measurements will be taken with not 1000 but 1200 Hertz crossover, 12 dB per octave. So have that in mind. Now, I decided to take near field measurements as well, so we're going to go through these just very quickly, and then far field. So this is all of them. We can have actually look one by one. The Chinese ring radiator with a phase plug, nothing special. Drops off after 20K, a little dip. This could be caused by the phase plug, not sure. But yeah, so with all the tweeters, you're going to see like a slight roll off towards the bottom end. This is a combination of having the crossover and having no baffle step, because I did measure these tweeters with no baffle. So that's why they kind of, it looks like they have like a rising edge, but if you would have in the baffle, it would be flat. But yeah, there's something here, not sure what that is. Chinese beryllium, super flat, amazing. However, it does drop off here. Not sure if it's like a cancellation because of the near field measurement or something, but we have a cone breakup or a peak at 31K, which is kind of a property of beryllium, that very stiff material breaks up very high, but not sure about this. We're going to have a look at the far field response if this dip is going to be here. Chinese ceramic, the cone breakups are happening much earlier at 12 and 18K, and then rolls off. The Chinese silver one, so some of these, they don't have names because Frank sent them from, I don't know where he got them from, but if, for example, I think this one performs quite well, so I might ask him for a link if anybody's going to be interested in buying one. But yeah, you can see like the AMTs, they have no names because they didn't came with any kind of markings on them at all. So this is just a small Chinese silver one out. And another thing that I haven't tested the Alpine Status because I sold them, and I haven't tested the horns because I sold them as well. So those are not in the testing. But this one, up to 5K, then a slight drop, and we have two peaks. So this, I think, is a ceramic as well, or maybe some kind of other material like metal. But yeah, it has two peaks, and then after 25K, rolls off. Then we have SB19, legendary, super flat. A little peak here at 14, but it's not big, like nothing when you compare it to this one, because this is a very high metal peak. And soft dome tweet, as you can see, very little peak. Extends all the way to 25K. Then rolls off. SB29, so it looks like it starts to roll off quite early at about 15K. Not sure why that is. Maybe because it's kind of a heavy dome. Maybe it doesn't have that extension. But to be honest, when we hear up to 16, these tweeters like SB29, they're known for their ability to play low and to have low distortion, not necessarily play very high. So yeah, VIFA, so I got the exact model NE19 VTS because somebody was asking about these VIFAs, amazing, very flat, all the way up to 18, then roll off. So these little guys are very surprising. Adam Daniel sent me them, and no wonder that he had them because these look to be very nice tweeters, and very small, tiny. Illusion Audio from Motorola. They do have this peak at the bottom end, and I did see this when I was measuring them in the car because I did tune them. If you watch my previous video where I tuned the whole Illusion Audio three-way set, I did show in the measurements that there is like a peak at the lower end, and I guess that these drivers have a very high Q, but yeah, apparently it shows up even here in near field measurements. Massive peak at the bottom end. I guess it kind of extends the frequency response, because if you're going to cross them like 3 4K, it kind of helps out with that, but not sure. And then rolling off, and very nice extension all the way up to like 26K. Very nice to see. So these probably they're like metal hard dome tweeters of some sort, but the comb breakup is very well managed. It's not a massive peak like this one. No, which one was it? This one, silver one, yeah. So you can see the difference between the peaks. So yeah, very nice, nicely managed resonance. Then power acoustic, the piezo driver. Yeah. Even in near field, I'm gonna show you the far field and the distortion, but even in near field, you can see that they don't play much. Like from what, 6K to 16 and a massive peak. Yeah, no wonder they don't sound nice, even from the frequency response, and we haven't looked at the distortion yet. But yeah, these piezo tweeters are no good. They are loud, however. You can see the level overall. We have 10, 15 dB more. All of these measurements were taken on the same level. So yeah, they're very loud, but very nasty. The kicker that came from a coax driver, yeah, metal dome, very high peak and kind of rising response. Don't play low because they do have their own crossover as well. I did realize that it has a cap in line. So this is a combination between the passive crossover and the amplifier crossover. But yeah, 3K roll off and a massive peak at 16. Then we have the AMTs. So this is a square big AMT, the one that I have, and super linear, super flat, super linear. Doesn't extend that much, like 18.5K, doesn't go there, but very flat, very linear, no breakups, no nothing, because again, there's no cone, so there's nothing. You can see these here is just because that if you have a look at the picture of that or my previous video about that driver, it has those slits. Like most AMTs have like a grill that has slits, and this is caused by that. So it's like home filtering caused by those slits and caused by the fact that the sound is coming from the sides of the AMT. So it's kind of comb filtering happening there, but very nice response. Then we have the round AMT. So we have a thin AMT round and a thick one. I just named them because there's no names, but this one is nasty. You can see it doesn't play low at all, 4K, and that's it, and nasty response. Plus minus 5 dB. No, plus minus 4. Yeah, it's a lot. It's very nasty response. Up to 20K and then down, so they don't play above 20K. Now the thick AMT, which is this one, again, very nasty response. Nothing special. This dip, it might be caused by the actual grill that is there, because when you do near field measurements on that, it might be the grill, not sure, but this choppiness is very nasty. And again, 20K and drops down. And the planar magnetic, I don't know, nothing special. They start to roll off at 3K, so even if it's crossed at 1.5, which is here, they don't play that at all. So they don't play anything below the 3K frequency, and they roll off at 11K. So yeah, not sure, not really, nothing special. Okay, so these are near field. Now let's have a look at the far field. The measurements taken from 1 meter distance. Is there any big difference? Because these, you can see, they look much flatter. So Chinese ring radiator, not bad. 20K rolling off, plus 5 dB here. Chinese beryllium, very nice, all the way up to 30K. So this is the peak that we had in the near field as well. A little dip, not sure why. Chinese ceramic, very nice. Those two peaks of the ceramic kind of molded into a very nice response. This is interesting. This might be like due to the tweeters measured well the baffle, because all of these three are the same size. So this could be like this dip at 7K, could be the baffle diffraction from the actual tweeter itself. Maybe, potentially. But nice responses, not bad. The Chinese silver tweeter, very nice, all the way up to 20K, and then this massive peak at 25, which is way above our audibility, but these tweeters look very nice. I'll need to ask Frank how much they cost and where can you buy them, because they look nice. If they're cheap, we're gonna have a look at the distortion. If they're cheap, they're very nice tweeters. Oh, and I have to cross them in two different frequencies because of the distortion. I'm going to show you later on. But yeah, these are crossed at 1K and these are crossed at 3K. Then SB19, again, super flat. A little dip. So this, again, the same size. So this, yeah, this is going to be baffle diffraction. Not ideal, but it's fine. If you wouldn't have this, it's a super, super flat tweet all the way up to 20K. Legendary, super cheap. If you can fit this, yeah, you can use it. SB29, nice, and you can see here the response rises up to 20K, which in the near field we didn't see that, but in a far field, yeah, nice, very, very flat. It again, I mentioned that is a like kind of rising response just because there's no baffle to reinforce the bottom end. But yeah, very, very, very flat. Vifa, super nice. This little driver, like, yeah, very similar to SB29. Ooh, actually almost identical. How about SB19? Yeah. So we will, yeah, it's kind of the same if you remove this dip due to the baffle. So these two, Vifa and SB29, they're very, very similar in price. You can see the frequency response is almost identical. The size difference is huge. And we're going to check the distortion, which one performs better, because from the frequency, these two are very, very nice. Okay, next, Illusion Audio. Yeah, it has something here, rolls off. Not sure why. Did we have this in the near field? Just double checking. Yeah, it was here at about 15.5K. Oh, this is 17K. Not sure why that is, but yeah, not as flat as others. Then we have the power acoustic. Yeah, you can see it's not a nice response. This is like, I don't know, like one of those dome mid-ranges that I tested that don't play low, don't play high. But this one, maybe like up to 16 if you hear up to, yeah, up to 16 they're fine. But then like nothing below 6K. And this dip for some reason. Yeah, they're not nice tweeters. The kicker from the coaxial, very, very rising. And it kind of makes sense because when you have this massive cone breakup here as well at 18K, and these are supposed to be in the coaxial driver, like 6.5. And if you think about it, when you have a tweeter, like this is on axis, if you would have it off axis, this would roll off, the top end would roll off. So if you have a coax driver in the door, especially like on your side, on the driver side, that is probably 60, 70, 80 degrees off axis, with that off axis response, you would still have a probably flat response, if you like 70, 80 degrees off axis. So it's kind of good. It's nice. It doesn't make sense when you look at it on axis just like that. But when you think about the actual application of this tweeter, it does make total sense. And I think you would perform very nice off axis. So yeah, well done, kicker. And if anybody wonders, this was from KS series, I think. Yeah, I had those coaxials quite a while ago and I burned them. So I just saved the tweeter. But nice. Now MTs, the square one, yeah, not really, nothing special, I don't know. Peak here, then rolls off. Doesn't really extend too much, like the Illusion Audio that plays up to 27, 28K. This doesn't, and it's not as flat. The thin round AMT, yeah, not nice. So this and the thick one as well. These are the worst ones. So these, I think they're kind of knockoff Dayton drivers and they don't perform good at all. I would like to test the actual genuine Dayton drivers just to compare them if those have kind of the same response or not. But yeah, don't buy these. don't buy the knockoffs from China, the Dayton ones, because they're not nice at all. And the planar magnetic, so I did play planar magnetic only from 3K because it had massive distortion lower. So yeah, they don't play low, as I mentioned, from 4 or 5K if you're gonna cross it. And yeah, they kind of roll off.
nicely. So it's not a very nice response, but it's not a disaster. Now, another thing, let's have a look at the impulse response of all these drivers. So as you remember from the mid-range shootout, I did mention that impulse kind of defies how a driver, is it ringing, is it not ringing, how is it looking in general. So for example, this Chinese ring radiator with a face plug, it's not bad. 1, 2, a little bit here, but it's not as bad. Then the beryllium, again, is nice. 1, this is, I don't know what's happening here. Maybe it is ringing, kinda, but just one peak and another one back, and that's it. The Chinese ceramic one is a bit nicer, but again, 1, 2, and then stop. So that's very nice to see. The Chinese silver one, as you can see, this one is, yeah, this one is ringing. So with a few different crossovers, but it doesn't really change much. Yeah, this rings a lot. So this impulse response is one of the worst of all the drivers. So even if the frequency response is nice, again, not sure how much it costs, but the impulse is quite bad for this driver. SB19, bum bum, that's it. So it's very similar to, yeah, to all the Chinese beryllium and ceramic. Yeah, this is nice. Almost identical to the ceramic Chinese. Very nice impulse response. SB29, very nice impulse response. 1, 2, that's it. VIFA, again, 1, 2, that's it. Very, very nice. Comes down very fast. Just ignore the peaks because you can see one is going down, the other one up. It's just a polarity because I didn't look when I hooked them up. I didn't look at the plus minus, positive, negative. I just hooked them up, however. Because again, it was late, I was tired, just ignore it. But impulse is very, very nice for this little VIFA. So we can see, yeah, SB29 and VIFA, they're almost identical. Illusion Audio, slight ringing, not a huge amount, not like this one. Yeah, but not comparable to SB as well. It has some ringing, so it's not as nice. Power Acoustic, yeah, it's very, very nasty, very bad, very similar to this Chinese, but this rings in a higher frequency, and this one kind of lower, so yeah, this is nasty. The kicker coax, again, quite a lot of ringing. There is 2 peaks, and this ringing is small in amplitude. We can see it rings a lot, a very, very long time, like more than 1 millisecond. A lot of ringing. Now AMTs, yeah, no ringing. Bam, bam, that's it. So this is the square one, the big one, thin. This has a little bit of ringing, which is not as nice. And the thick one, kind of similar. So yeah, these thick and thin AMTs, the Dayton knockoffs, are pretty bad. They do, however, cost like £10. So for £10, probably you cannot fold them, but they're not nice. No, do not buy those. And the planar magnetic, it has some like 1, 2, 3, so it is more and a bit here. These are not nice as well. So from the impulse response, the nicest ones that we have is like SBSB, VIFA, all the Chinese beryllium ceramic, and all the rest are kinda meh. And the last thing, let's have a look at the distortion. So with distortion, I have no ranking, no nothing. It's just in random order. Again, this is just educational. It's not a shootout or anything. So just to have a look. So let's have a look. Chinese ring with face. So this is, I'm going to leave all of them on just for you to see how a specific tweeter compares to all the rest. Like this Chinese ring with a face plug is 1% all across the board. You can see 1% at 90 dB for a tweeter. Maybe it's not bad, but it could be better. We're going to say that everything below 1% is good, everything above 1% is bad. Let's say that. So this one, ring radiator, is kind of average. The beryllium one is kind of okay as well. You see the peak at 3K, that goes up to 1%, and then at 10K, and that's slightly above 1%, but the rest is less than 0.5%, so which is nice, not bad. If you cross it at like 3K, that peak is going to go away. It's going to be very, very nicely playing tweeter. But again, this tweeter is playing, all of these tweeters are playing at 90 decibels crossed at 1.2K, which is super low, especially for the smaller drivers. We're gonna see that. So yeah, 1.2K, 12 dB per octave. It's very good result because you can see for this beryllium, the distortion is below 0.5% at 1K. So very, very nice. The Chinese ceramic one, extremely similar to beryllium. I think it's almost identical to beryllium. Yeah, the same. Then the Chinese silver one, the small one, which had one of the worst impulses. We can see that the distortion is rising from like 3K and down, and that's why I crossed it at 3K. So when you cross it at 3K, we can see the distortion goes down all the way up to 0.5% and lower until you reach like 7, 8K, and then it goes up to 1%. So if you cross it at 3K, it's good. It's nice tweeter. It's just the impulse is not that nice. SB19, very, very nice. Everything below 1%. Super. And again, cross that low at 1K distortion 0.5%. Super nice. SB29, we're not going to look at the distortion at very, very top end, like you can see 18, 20K. Yeah, it rises up to 5%, but that I cannot hear that high, so it doesn't really matter. What matters is the distortion at the lower end. And here you can see that it goes above 1% at like between 1 and 2K. So I determined this because I had these tweeters before, and I determined that the best crossover for them is like 2.2K, maybe 2K or 24 dB. And then that peak goes down and you're going to have distortion like 0.5% in all the range. So this is very nice, but this, since it's a smaller driver, it needs a higher crossover. 2.2K for this one. Vifa, the small driver, again, very nice. Slightly rising distortion because such a small driver to cross it that low is unreasonable. If you would cross it 3K, it's going to be below 1% through all the range. But just very quickly, I'm going to compare these two, SB29 and the Vifa. So yeah, SB29 is a slightly cleaner driver. Even if you cross it at 3K, both of them, if you're going to cross at 3K, so this is going to go down, but this is going to go even lower. So yeah, SB29 is slightly cleaner than this, but the Vifa is such a small, tiny baby driver. Okay, next, Illusion Audio. Not bad. Not bad. I'm just going to leave this line here. Almost everything below 1%, apart from that peak at 9K. And yeah, these tweeters, we need a lower crossover. If you're going to cross it at 2.5K, you can see that peak at 2K is going to go down as well. So they can be crossed at about 2K, which is surprising for such a small driver. But yeah, very nice. Power acoustic. Oh my gosh. So as I mentioned, I did post a question on one of the Facebook groups to recommend me the worst sounding tweeter. And by a landslide, everybody recommended this power acoustic one. No wonder. 10 to 20% of distortion. Oh my gosh. Yeah, these tweeters, they are not nice. Now, can we generalize that all piezo tweeters sound the same? Not sure, but this one is literally unusable. It just only screams and makes noise. Yes, it is sensitive. It doesn't play high, doesn't play low, and it plays everything that it plays with a load of distortion. So yeah, these are gonna go to the bin straight away. Now the kicker, yeah, it's not bad considering that this one has a built-in crossover at 3K, just slightly above 1%. It's not that bad, but that rising distortion at the higher frequencies, that's concerning a bit. Like above 10K, you can see it goes all the way up to like 20, 25, 30%. How much is that? 40%. Yeah, not nice, not nice. But it's in a coax driver, so you cannot expect any like really good quality from this. Now, the AMTs, the most important thing, are they going to be clean or not? The big square one AMT, clean, I want to say. Kind of almost everything below 1%. There's little peak at 3K. But if, again, these are crossed at 1.2. If you're going to cross them at 3, 4K, then yeah, all of that is going to go down. And they will be kind of almost the cleanest like this one. you can see the range between 5 and 10 kilohertz is at the bottom of the pack. So yeah, it is clean in that range. However, the distortion rises, very similar to this kicker, at the higher frequencies above 10K. Now, how much distortion can you hear at those high frequencies is a question, but this square AMT is clean. Yeah, if you cross at 3-4K, it is very, very clean. Probably, yeah, it's one of the cleanest tweeters that from all this bunch. Now, the thin AMT round one, yeah, not nice. If you cross it at 5K, that peak is gonna go down, but it's still gonna be 1% and above. So yeah, not nice. The thick one round is even worse. Even if you cross it at 6K, everything is like hovering about 2%. So these two tweeters are nasty. And the planar magnetic, yeah, for some reason, it's bad. Now, you would have to cross it probably like 6K just to lower the distortion, but even with 6K crossover, it's still at 2% and higher. So it is one of the highest distortion of the pack. So these are not nice at all. So from all of these, if we're going to very quickly have a look at the lowest distortion, so this is the kicker one, which is the lowest here. I'm just going to remove it because it's not a real tweeter. This AMT, the big square AMT, is very, very nice. If you cross at 3-4K, it's going to have the lowest distortion. And the other one is going to be the beryllium, the Chinese beryllium. The ceramic is not far behind it. SB19, very nice. And even in 29. And this VIFA has slightly more distortion.
So just to summarize, I'm just going to show you these tweeters again just for you to see, because if you haven't watched my previous video, you don't know what I'm talking about. Just to summarize, these data knockoffs, they're really, really bad. Both of them. Very nasty, very bad. Do not buy them. Nothing special. This one, again, it's a coax, so, you know. This one, high distortion. Nothing special. Not very nice. This one, however, is nice. It doesn't have the best impulse. It is quite big and chunky, but this has, I think, almost the lowest distortion of all the drivers. The frequency response is not as nice, but it's nice. This one is nice. If anybody's going to be interested in this one, I'm going to ask Frank to leave a link to this one. I'm not sure how much it costs, but it's not expensive. Now, from all of these, this one is quite bad. Again, it's 20 pounds. It's nothing. These are all very, very nice. This. I'm going to remove this one. This one is not that nice. It needs a high crossover, but yeah, actually looks very similar to one of these if you're going to have a look. It's just in a smaller package. But yeah, this is kind of okay, but the impulse is quite bad for this one. The Illusion Audio, not bad, can be crossed low, has some frequency response problems, but I think the Illusion Audio in general is not worth the price. And these, so Chinese ceramic, Chinese beryllium, SB19, SB29. Oh, I forgot the little one. I forgot the VIFA. So this one is very nice as well. And this one is gonna go to rubbish bin straight away. So from all of these, like, if you're building, now kind of recommendation, if you're building home audio speakers, like a bookshelf speaker or whatever, SB19, legendary, super nice tweeter, 20-25 pounds. This one. If you're not scared to buy anything from China, these fake Chinese beryllium, but to be honest, like, they cost, I think he paid £100, $100 for a driver. And like, performance-wise, they're not miles better than any of these. So they're nice, but they're kind of expensive. This is not bad. I think it's like $30 or something for a tweeter. This is a ceramic one, so it's nice as well. But these are all big. Now for cars, like these two, so as I mentioned, they're very, very similar in the performance. Distortion-wise, this has a slightly higher distortion. This has a slightly lower distortion. And this can play lower as well. But the size-wise, like this, man, is so tiny. Just look at it. It's a baby tweeter. So for the price, NE19, It's an amazing, amazing tweeter. Highly, highly recommended. So yeah, this was it for now, at least. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do any kind of tweeter shootout because I had a few people already asking, can I send you some tweeters for testing, that kind of stuff. We'll see, because I have so many projects lined up in the future. I need to like literally finish my own car before I do any of these. But this was fun. I would like to hear your opinions, what you learned about these, and if you have any experience with any of these drivers. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one.